Hi everybody. We've learnt about the organs of the digestive system and their basic function. So now we're going to learn how the whole system works together to digest our food. All right. The main learning intention is that we have a combination of mechanical digestion and chemical digestion to break down our food. And the two things you should be able to do are describe the various types of those digestions, physical or mechanical and chemical, and be able to explain how nutrients are absorbed once our food is completely digested. All right, a basic overview of digestion again. Remember that the whole point of the digestive system is to break down the big food molecules that we eat into smaller ones, because then they can be absorbed into our bloodstream and those nutrients can go to all of our cells which need to get the energy out of those food molecules. So whenever we eat some food, it's always made up of a combination of these three types of molecules. So carbohydrates are in breads and cereals, pasta and sweet foods. Sugar counts as carbohydrates too. Meat and a lot of legumes have proteins in them, and they're a different type of big molecule. And any fatty and oily foods have fats and oils in them. Don't forget there are a lot of healthy fats and oils which our body does need, even though we always hear that fatty foods aren't healthy, which is true on the whole. So all of these large molecules, whether they're carbohydrates, proteins, or fats and oils, need to be broken down into smaller ones. The first way the digestive system breaks down those molecules is mechanically or physically digesting them. And that begins at the teeth. All those different types of teeth that we learnt about, the incisors and the canines and the molars and premolars, they've all evolved so they can physically break apart the food as we chew it. And that's the first step of breaking apart big chunks of food into smaller ones. The second place mechanical digestion happens is in the stomach with a process called churning. And churning occurs because around our stomach, we've actually got all these layers of muscle. So the stomach can contract and compress itself, and it's constantly doing that even when we're not moving. And that helps to compress all the food that's in there and to mix our food around, and that helps to slowly break the food apart into smaller pieces again. The final place that mechanical digestion occurs is using bile. And bile is this chemical. You can see it here. It's this greeny yellow looking chemical. And it helps fatty and oily foods to dissolve in water, because obviously oils and fats don't dissolve normally. Like if you have a salad dressing with some oil in, it doesn't dissolve, it sits on top of the watery part. But bile acts as an emulsifier, which mixes the oils and fats in with the water and helps them to dissolve. Just like a salad dressing that you buy from the supermarket, it's had an emulsifier to mix the oils in with the water. So bile is produced in the liver, it's stored in the gallbladder, and then the gallbladder sends it in to the beginning of the small intestine, and the bile dissolves all the oils in the small intestine. Okay, so alongside physically breaking apart our food with mechanical digestion, we also digest the molecules using chemicals. And the main way that happens is with digestive enzymes. So here's the digestive enzyme. And they're special proteins that our body makes, particularly the pancreas and the liver. And they're proteins, so they're made by the ribosomes in those pancreas and liver cells. And their job is to literally break apart large food molecules into lots of small pieces. So here's a carbohydrate. some sort of sugar that you've eaten from a carbohydrate-rich food. The enzyme comes along to that in our intestines and breaks that sugar apart into lots of small carbohydrate molecules. And these can now be absorbed into the bloodstream. There's another role of chemicals that chemicals play in the digestive system, and that's with acids in our stomach. So you might have heard that our stomach is highly acidic. And one of the main roles for that is to unfold food molecules so that it's easier for the enzymes to break them down. Most of the time, food molecules look like this. They're all folded up quite tightly, and it's hard for the enzymes to get in and try and act and break down that molecule until it's unfolded. So once food hits our stomach, as the stomach's churning and it's pushing acid through all those molecules, it unfolds them nicely. So then the enzymes can come in and break down those molecules into much smaller ones, ready to be absorbed again. So like with everything in biology, things work together. The acid helps the enzymes improve their function. Okay, so digestion means breaking food into smaller pieces and smaller molecules. And then the second role of the digestive system is to actually absorb all of those nutrients from our food into our bloodstream, so they actually enter our body. And the absorption happens in the small intestine. That's pretty much the only place where we absorb all of our food. And you can see from the structure of the small intestine, firstly, it's extremely long, several meters in length if you completely lay it out flat. Then if you look inside the small intestine, it's a hollow tube where all the food is passing, and you can see all these small ridges up and down, up and down. And these ridges are called villi. And the villi because they have so many ridges, there's a large surface area, which means lots of area for food molecules to be absorbed. So you can imagine if we have all of these food molecules on the inside of the intestine, they're able to attach here, they're able to attach at the top, they're able to go down and attach down here, so they're able to be absorbed into the body across a large area of space. And on those fingers, you can see there are even smaller, tiny little finger projections, and they're called microvilli. And again, they increase the surface area by an even greater factor. So we have a huge surface area to absorb all those food molecules. And once they're absorbed, we have veins and arteries of the circulatory system passing through here. The food molecules enter the circulatory system, and then they can pass through out of the small intestine to all throughout the body to carry those nutrients to the cells where they're needed. And those cells will use cellular respiration to get the energy out of their food, out of our food.